At 8,848 meters, in the thin, brutal air of the Everest summit, 55-year-old Don Cash had just achieved his dream. He had conquered the 7 summits. But after 40 years of ambition, his triumph lasted only moments. In the death zone, he collapsed. Yet his rescue was halted by a human traffic jam. Too many climbers were stuck on a dangerous, knife-edge ridge just below the Everest summit. This meant his chance to get to safety became a deadly weight. This is the story of a dream achieved, but at the ultimate price. Now, we'll explore Don Cash's journey, how tragedy struck on Everest's crowded slopes, and what lessons we can learn from his final climb. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel Epic Tragedies for more incredible true stories of triumph and tragedy. The journey begins. Don Cash was born in the small town of Sandy, Utah, a quiet suburban not typically known for producing world-class mountaineers. From a young age, he displayed a deep love for adventure and nature, nurturing dreams far bigger than his surroundings. His passion for climbing was ignited early and grew steadily over the years, eventually becoming the central focus of his life. Donald was not an ordinary climber. He was dedicated, methodical, and fiercely committed to his goals. For decades, he worked toward a formidable objective, completing the 7 summits. This prestigious mountaineering challenge requires ascending the highest peak on each of the 7 continents, a feat achieved by only a select few. The 7 summits include iconic mountains such as Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, Aconcagua in South America, and, of course, Everest in Asia. Throughout his journey, Donald was admired for his perseverance. Despite the extreme physical and mental demands of high-altitude climbing, he methodically summited one peak after another. By 2019, only one mountain remained between him and the completion of his lifelong goal, Mount Everest, the world's highest peak at 8,848 meters, standing as his final and most daunting challenge. As he prepared for the Everest expedition, those who knew him understood that this was more than just another climb. It was the culmination of a life's quest, a goal that had driven him through years of training, hardship, and sacrifice. The stage was set for an extraordinary journey on the world's most legendary mountain. Everest Ascent. On May 22, 2019, at the age of 55, Don Cash stood at the summit of Mount Everest, fulfilling a lifelong dream and completing the final climb in his quest to conquer the 7 summits, the highest peaks on each of the 7 continents. For decades, Donald had trained, planned, and persevered to reach this iconic mountain's peak, a goal as daunting as it was inspiring. The ascent was no simple feat. Everest, towering at 8,848 meters, 29,032 feet, challenges even the most seasoned climbers. Donald's expedition began well before the summit push, with months of acclimatization, rigorous training, and enduring the harshest conditions imaginable. From base camp, climbers gradually moved upward, facing brutal cold, treacherous winds, and dangerously thin air. Each step brought new hardships, from crevasses hidden beneath snow to the deadly Khumbu icefall, a shifting maze of ice that requires caution and skill. Despite the obstacles, Donald remained resolute. His team, led by experienced Sherpa guides, navigated the usual camps, Camp 1 through Camp 4, each higher and more demanding than the last. The climb demanded physical endurance, mental toughness, and calculated risks, as weather windows are narrow and the infamous death zone above 8,000 meters taxes the human body severely. Breathing became a struggle, and every movement required extraordinary effort. Donald's spirit stayed high throughout the climb. In April, he shared his excitement on social media. "I'm truly blessed to just be here on this adventure with great new friends." On that fateful day of May 22nd, after a grueling final push through the Hillary Step, a nearly vertical rock face just below the peak, Donald and his team finally stood on the summit. He had achieved what many dream of but few attain. The panoramic views amid the clouds, the overwhelming sense of triumph, and the fulfillment of a lifelong pursuit made the moment unforgettable. At the summit of Everest, Don Cash had accomplished the impossible. But what unfolded during his descent turned this incredible triumph into a heartbreaking tragedy. How did a man who conquered the highest peak on Earth meet his fate just steps away from safety? What deadly challenges awaited him on the way down? Let's explore together. Tragic descent on Everest. After reaching the summit on the morning of May 22, 2019, Donald Lynn Cash had just fulfilled a lifelong dream, conquering the final peak of the Seven Summits Challenge. But the triumph was to be short-lived. Just moments after standing on the world's highest point, Donald fainted due to the brutal effects of high-altitude sickness, a constant and deadly threat in the Everest death zone, where oxygen levels are perilously low. Immediately, Sherpa guides from the expedition Group Pioneer Adventures sprang into action. They worked tirelessly to keep Donald alive, administering CPR, raising his oxygen levels, and providing massages to stimulate circulation. Despite their best efforts, Donald remained unconscious, unable to stand or walk. The guides carefully carried him down the mountain toward the Hillary Step at around 8,770 meters, one of the steepest and most precarious parts of the route. It's a place where physical strength and mental focus are critical, but Donald's condition severely hampered his ability to continue. The descent was further complicated by an extreme traffic jam of climbers. On that day, between 250 and 300 climbers attempted the summit, creating long, slow-moving queues in the narrow paths near the top. This bottleneck meant climbers endured prolonged exposure to the harsh cold, fierce winds, and dangerously low oxygen, a deadly combination. Prolonged waiting in these conditions can lead to frostbite, hypoxia, and exhaustion. Cash's rescue was delayed by this congestion. The effort to carry him down was slowed by countless climbers waiting their turn to descend or ascend. Tragically, despite the guide's attempt to save him and the use of supplemental oxygen and CPR, Donald Lynn Cash died before he could reach a safer altitude. His family later shared that he seemed at peace with his fate. His son Tanner recalled Donald's last message, "I feel so blessed to be on the mountain that I have read about for the last 40 years. His daughter Brandolyn echoed this sentiment, expressing pride that her father proved dreams could be achieved, even if the cost was grave. Donald was 55 years old. Donald's death was among at least 12 reported deaths in the Himalayan region during that spring climbing season, with 3 others dying on Everest itself amid dangerous conditions and overcrowding. The tragedy drew attention to the increasing risks posed by Everest's rising popularity, where commercial expeditions and climbers of varying experience create perilous delays and hazards. Despite the heartbreak, Donald Lynn Cash's legacy is one of determination, courage, and inspiring others to chase their dreams relentlessly. His death on Everest serves as a somber reminder of nature's unforgiving power and the thin line climbers walk between triumph and tragedy. Many climbers and mountaineering communities mourned his passing, recognizing the extraordinary man who dared to challenge the limits of human endurance. Aftermath and lessons. Donald Lynn Cash's death was one of at least 12 reported fatalities in the Himalayan region during that spring climbing season, with 3 others dying on Everest itself. His tragedy became a stark case study that intensified urgent debates within the mountaineering community about the sustainability and safety of commercial expeditions on Everest. Critics pointed to the 2019 season as a breaking point, arguing that the Nepalese government's issuance of a record number of permits, 381 that year, directly contributed to the deadly queues that hampered his rescue. This incident sparked renewed calls for stricter regulations, including potential limits on permits, mandatory proof of high-altitude experience for climbers, and better management of ascent schedules to prevent such traffic jams. The family's gracious acceptance of the risks he knowingly took helped shift the conversation from blame to a broader discussion of personal responsibility and the ethics of high-risk adventure. Their focus on celebrating his achievement rather than solely mourning his loss resonated deeply within the climbing world. His legacy endures as both an inspiration for pursuing dreams and a solemn warning about the grave risks and ultimate price of challenging the world's most extreme environments. As Donald Lynn Cash's tragic story on Everest echoes through the mountaineering community, it leaves us with profound reflections on courage, dreams, and the harsh realities faced by those who challenge nature's greatest heights. His journey reminds us that even the strongest spirits are vulnerable to the mountain's unforgiving power, and that preparation, respect, and caution must always go hand in hand with ambition. Donald's legacy continues to inspire climbers and adventurers worldwide to pursue their passions with heart and wisdom, honoring both the triumphs and the risks that come with such daring pursuits. Which part of Donald Cash's Everest story impacted you the most? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Epic Tragedies, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring true tale of human endurance and spirit. Thank you for watching.